Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the new Radenso Pro M windshield mount radar detector. This is definitely going to be a contender for being one of the best windshield mount radar detectors on the market. It offers really good long-range performance. The BSM filtering on this one is really good, and it's got support for international radar guns, which we're actually now starting to see show up here in the United States. And so for those of you guys wanting a really high performance and capable radar detector, this is definitely going to be a detector to take a look at. Now, for those of you guys familiar with Radenso's radar detectors, this definitely is going to look similar, right? It's built on the same platform and has the same design as the Radenso Pro and the Radenso Pro SE, right? The Radenso Pro M edition has actually been out for a little while. This is the second gen of the Radenso Pro M. It actually has a hardware change to allow it to do more sophisticated signal analysis on K-band and thus improve the BSM filtering. I've been driving around with it for a couple days. I've only had the detector here myself for a couple days, and so far initial impressions are actually looking very favorable. It's being a surprisingly good detector in terms of its BSM filtering capabilities. Now, the difference between the Pro M and the regular Radenso Pro and Radenso Pro SE is, well, the support for the international radar guns such as the MRCD. The thing about the MRCD, it is a difficult to detect radar gun that was originally used overseas in Europe, then started showing up in Canada. It's very actively used in Edmonton, Canada, and Alberta, for example, and now we're actually starting to see it show up as photo radar in New York. And so for those of you guys in New York, the MRCD is actually now starting to show up there as well. And the Radenso Pro M is one of the few radar detectors that is able to detect it. Another popular one is the Redline EX. The Uniden R3 does not detect the MRCD. There is a firmware update that's in development, maybe a couple months out, but it is not currently able to do it. And so for those of you guys who need MRCD support, this is one of the few radar detectors that can do that. Now, let's actually talk a little bit more about the detector in terms of performance, filtering, and features relative to the Redline EX and the Uniden R3, because those are really the two top competitors to the Pro M. It'll kind of help put it into context. So price-wise, R3, $400. The Pro M is going to be $550, and the Redline EX, $600. All the detectors support GPS lockouts, right? The Uniden and the Radenso are going to be manual, whereas the Escort, the lockouts are automatic. They all have red light camera alerts, and they all have your low-speed muting and whatnot. Now, as far as kind of some of the differences, if we start with range, the Uniden R3 is now kind of the benchmark as far as long-range performance. With some of the testing that we've seen with the first-gen version of the Pro M, it's also going to be a solid contender relative to the Uniden R3, whereas the Redline EX is going to be kind of a lower-range detector compared to the Pro M and the R3. Now, as far as the filtering capabilities, that's still going to be kind of tough to say as far as the BSM filtering. That's definitely something to kind of determine as we get more seat time with it and whatnot. But again, initial impressions in terms of BSM filtering is actually looking really, really good here with the Pro M. In terms of MRCD, this is also going to be one of the biggest differences between the Pro M and the Redline EX. Both of them can detect the MRCD, but the Pro M does a better job at it. It's better at detecting the MRCD. When you do detect it, the Redline EX will just give you a full tilt alert, whereas the Pro M actually has a ramp up that goes from weak to strong as you get closer, which is very helpful information. The Redline EX will also false more to MRCD than the Pro M will. In terms of RDD immunity, I'm definitely wondering about that. I've got a Spectre here, so as the when the weather clears up, I'll do some Spectre testing with the Pro M and see how that fares. We'll also do some more long-range testing, of course, with a variety of different radar detectors. And, well, there's more testing that's going to be going on for people who live in, well, areas of the world and areas of the country that are more favorable and conducive to radar detector testing. Seattle in the wintertime makes it really tough, But in any event, more testing to come. But what we're seeing so far in terms of initial impressions, good long-range performance, close to the R3, potentially better BSM filtering, we'll have to see, detects the MRCD, and does a better job of it than the Redline EX. So for those of you guys looking for a very high-performance, very capable windshield mount radar detector, this is definitely one to take a look at. So that's kind of my initial thoughts of the detector. It's already available for those of you guys who want it. You can purchase it in the US or in Canada, and I'll have links in the video description to where you can pick it up. But that's kind of the general idea behind the Pro M. Again, I think it's going to be a very solid pick in terms of being one of the best windshield mount radar detectors, and for those of you guys looking for long range, good filtering, and what used to be international radar gun support and is now actually starting to slowly show up here in the US, this is definitely going to be one of the top picks. So there's been some hardware changes over the original Pro M to give it better BSM filtering. There's been some software changes to add new features to improve things like the GPS lockouts and whatnot. And so I'm definitely looking forward to testing and running this detector more and sharing my experiences with you guys. So of course, more videos to come with testing and reviews and setup guides and all the typical stuff that we do here. Other than that, let me know what you guys are wondering about and what you're curious about. And if you have any questions, just post it down in the comment area and I'll be happy to answer. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And till next time, happy driving, and I'll see you guys in the next video.